to experience the quality sound of nothing but great rock and roll in crystal clear stereo. Switch from AM to FM now.
I officially launch Brisbane's new FM station.
Brisbane's brand new FM, B105.
Get in, have fun, break the rules.
Broadcasting naked.
In the nude it's cold. It's a bit breezy for that, isn't it, boys?
And giving away breast surgery.
The B105 Morning Cruise Wham Man. Thank you, Pam.
For the B105 Christmas appeal, you have done it!
Thank you for raising money and helping sick kids.
How much have we raised over the years?
About $80.
Thank you.
We had one massive thing where we had a bit of a fight and we still did the show.
It wasn't a fight. Well, how can one punch be a fight?
Well, it was a good punch, I thought.
I'm still standing.
And sometimes even we don't know how to handle the long fellow.
Let's take 5.
And sometimes even we don't know how to handle long fellow. I go down.
Take 6. It's time for another B105 Gotcha call, and this one is rude.
Warning.
Oh, you do the
warning. Hello. Is it? Is anyone in there, Ian? Did someone just hit you in the face with a shovel?
I've woken up, it's all right.
Sorry.
Rapport, me and you.
Hello, Woz.
G'day, Macca.
We are talking about Brisbane in the 90s and the effect that B105 and the B105 Morning Crew had at that time. When that started, it was an absolute breakthrough. Brisbane was changing.
It was. I won't tell you how old I was then.
Old enough to father me?
No, not quite. But old enough to be able to hit the nightclubs, which you would not have been able to do at that time.
No, but there was a lot of talk on the radio back then about city rowers.
Yes.
And like the morning crew seemed to always be at city rowers hanging out with the Broncos.
Yes, it was the place to be. Down on the river.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went there in the 2000s when I was old enough to go there. Yeah. And I was like, I can see why people like this place. Yeah. It was very cool.
Metro.
Oh, absolutely. And the other one that they used to talk about was the Paddo Tav.
Yes.
You know, they always used to go to the Paddo Tav. Yep. That'd be somewhere where they'd catch up. And Jamie would talk about Gambaros. When he had to have a special meeting.
Right.
Like with the bosses or whatever. It's like, we go to Gambaros. Seafood restaurant. Great restaurant.
Yeah, right.
Some of the best seafood I've ever had. It was a time, mate, when radio was really starting to become its own in Australia. Like, American radio shows had really taken off and become a phenomenon. You know, Howard Stern was doing some massive things in that time period in America. But Australia didn't have those shows that were anywhere near as big as what Jamie and the B105 Morning Crew did.
Yeah.
Like, it was huge, wasn't it? It was a phenomenon.
Absolutely. Why do you think that was the case, that Australians weren't really up to the speed that the Americans were at with radio? There's no reason why they should have been lagging behind.
Well, I just don't think that we were encouraged growing up to have the confidence. And Americans have always had the confidence.
Yes.
You know, guess that confidence probably happened with the radio, with what was going on in the city at the time. Like, we had a big change in government. You know, Bjelke-Petersen government had been in 20 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we've got a new government, and it's different governments run differently. People are feeling more confident about this new government. They're feeling it's a young government. We've got buildings being built. We've got stadiums being built. We've got football teams now in the NRL. We've got a team competing in the AFL. Like, there was a lot to make us go, we can step up a notch. And I think that was a part of why that radio was happening and why it was good, because there was a lot going on. I mean, you think about a show like Stern's, done in New York. New York, there's so much going on.
Yes.
At any time in history, really, in New York, there was just stacks of stuff going on.
Yep.
So there was that confidence. So Brisbane was sort of building itself up like New York.
Yeah, and we were hot off the heels of Expo 88. So Brisbane had, put themselves on the map and proven that they could do something on a world scale. But like you say, with the introduction of the new sporting teams, they needed someone to be able to bridge the gap between these football and sporting celebrities and the common household listener. So B105, they bridged that gap and they did it so well. I think we've used the term they set a vibe for Brisbane.
Yeah, they certainly did set a vibe for it. I mean, look, Jamie has said in the past, in interviews I've heard, Brad March, he always talks about Brad.
Yeah.
He said that he had that team going really well. And he said everybody was contributing. Like, it was one of those times where they all wanted to be a part of it. They're excited to be in the city. They're excited to go to these football games. They're excited to tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
They've also come from AM, which sounds like AM, to FM. So they've got clear stereo sound. You can hear your favourite artists being played almost like a CD player.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so everything sounds better. It feels better. It's new. They've got a new building in Bowen Hills. And it was just cranking for them at the time.
Yeah.
Last time where we left it was, you and Jamie were going to catch up. He was doing a show in Bundy.
Yes. I got to catch up with Jamie the following day, and we had a bit of a breakfast catch up, and I just mentioned to him, that not a lot has been said about his time on B105 and that time in the 90s where the city was coming into its own, and B105 was a massive part of that evolution of the Brisbane city. And I said that we'd be interested in doing a bit of a chat with him and maybe even a project that goes beyond that. And he was quite interested in being a part of it. In fact, was also touched that we were thinking about doing it. But I think he's more interested in having a chance to set the record straight, I think, for a lot of things that happened in that time.
Yeah, with Jamie's story, like, there are bits and pieces all around, right?
Yes.
There's interviews with Jamie. I don't feel like that period has really been looked at.
No.
And studied, really, to go, what was it that made that so good? Was it just lightning in a bottle, or could that sort of stuff be recreated? Could this be stuff that people could be learning for the future in entertainment on how to put a show together and how to make people feel good and to touch the lives that he and the morning crew did?
Yeah, because as much as they made us laugh, they could also make you cry, which was magical that, just a group of guys around a microphone could have that sort of an impact on the people of the city itself.
Oh, absolutely. And when you caught up with him, I need to know this.
Yes.
Jamie's notorious for not spending a buck.
That's right.
Who paid?
Oh, Macca. I'd love to say that Jamie shouted me breakfast. That didn't happen.
That didn't happen?
No.
What happened?
No, I was quick to grab the card out, and he was quite happy to have a cuppa.
Yeah, right. So, but you only ended up paying $8, didn't you?
That's
two pots of tea.
That's right.
And what did Jamie say after you paid for it?
He said, it was only $8. He said, I should have sprung for that one.
Because then he gets credit for the meal the next time you go out. He's like, I guess it's your show because I paid for that cup of tea.
Exactly.
He's a funny bloke.
He's good.
He really is funny bloke. He always jokes about being too tight to buy glasses, so all his glasses are from the servo.
Yeah.
But, mate, when you caught up with him and you talked to him about the project that we're working on,
yes,
what was his feelings? Like, did he say, it's not really something I want to talk about? Or did he say, I don't know, is that too long ago? What was his...
No, I think the relationship that he and I have developed over the years, I think that's enough for him to understand that we're doing it out of reverence, and we want to impart a story about part of his life. And I think he's more than happy for that to happen at this stage.
Who better to tell the story than Jamie Dunn? And we have tracked him down, the man himself, Mr. Jamie Dunn. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello. That's what happens to old radio guys. You're free all the time.
I don't believe it.
I think he's been a little bit busy. You've been doing your late night show at the moment, Jamie.
Oh, yeah, Aggro Up Late. That's been surprisingly well received. I mean, I guess retro is in.
Yes.
And Aggro was in your lounge room before you went to school and when you came home from school.
Hello?
Julie.
Yes.
It's Aggro again.
Oh, hello, Aggro.
How are you doing?
Oh, okay, thank you.
And how's young Blake?
Well, he's still in bed at the moment, actually. He's not actually watching your show at the moment. But...
that's all right. I'm on the radio in Brisbane anyway.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, with the morning crew.
So I guess he's got a cornerstone of iconic kind of characterism. And like we did Mackay and pulled about 800 people.
Wow.
Which I know.
That's great.
When you think you're a has-been and all of a sudden there's bums on seats, it's interesting. And we only got 29 complaints out of those 800.
Well, Jamie, I went and saw you, as you know, in Bundaberg, and I looked around, and as far as I could see, the house was pretty full as well. So the popularity with seeing Aggro up late is just amazing. And when you say retro is back in, I don't think Aggro really ever went out of fashion, did he?
Well, I think that because he was on television so regularly, and also he had, a good attitude. He was like, he appealed to kids, parents, grandparents. He kind of went through the kids to the adults. It was back then there wasn't as many committees around looking to assassinate you for being ad-libish.
Yes. Oh, it was absolutely amazing. I remember as a kid watching Aggro and just loving the fact that there was humour in there that wasn't just for little kids.
Well, I used to love when Aggro, like early in the piece, he had felt hands and they had wire for the fingers, and of course the felt wore out and the wire was coming through, and Aggro would look down and go, I need new hands. The kids aren't going to believe this. Look at the wire. Get a close up of the wire. And and I guess if you're a parent watching that, you're going, there's something in this for me.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. There always was. I mean, even the love of Wally Lewis. I mean, was that something that was in you? Did you love Wally Lewis yourself, or was that
absolutely, yeah. Yeah. It's strange you should say that, because I was only watching him tonight thinking, like I did love him, something shocking. I got 10 years of wonderful rugby league out of Wally, and I remember all of it. And, when I had the statue made, and Channel 7, I had a statue of Wally made from the same mould as the statue at Lang Park. And
I remember it.
Channel 7 didn't want to put that on the set. They said it's just Queensland, so I paid for it. It was $3,000, and I had Wally there, and Aggro wouldn't speak to a guest unless they bowed to Wally. It was just relaxed and fun. And then on top of that, I was surrounded by, a lot of people that were really good. Crikey the Clowny and Calder and Gibbo, Mike Gibson, and Anne-Marie was, although she comes across as being silly, on camera, it takes – you have a look at what the work that she put together, and she just had a real feel for how to react and stuff, It was good.
Good sparring partner.
Yeah, exactly. So I was surrounded by, a stack of talented people, and I just took the credit for it. That's entertainment.
So when we talk about you and getting to meet your heroes like Wally Lewis, back in the day, before you made it big at BDQ, or before you were on air at B105, and before that 4BK, before that, who was your hero? Who was the person that inspired you to get into this showbiz career?
You're going to think I'm a dag, but when I was at Salisbury High School back in the 60s, it was Paul McCartney and the Beatles, yeah. So the Beatles, I was a drummer, and that just started me in bands, and then bands turned into, appearing on television in the band and backing artists and stuff. And then different opportunities came, and then I realised that in this business you need to say yes to everything and then work out how to do it later. Otherwise you'll just starve. And I learned how to get the money off the publicans for the band when they weren't paying, and I learned how to get the job. And, when Aggro came along, I really didn't think that there were legs in it. But, of course, I went yes and did it. And that was the one thing that just took off like there was no tomorrow. And you mentioned B105 and BDQ. That really was just a case of being on air. Say, let's take B105. So I was on air long enough for the public to get my personality and understand, when I was being flippant or I was being sarcastic or, and relaxed with it. And once they understand who you are and, and get into you, then the ratings come. And once you got ratings, everyone thinks your ideas are wonderful. If you don't have ratings, they go, why are we doing this? But if you've got ratings, they think you know something they don't.
Yeah. but you're so humble about it. Like you say, if you're on it long enough, you were on there for 16 years, and those 16 years were some of the highest ratings of any show in Brisbane at the time.
I know. When I first signed with, say, 4BK, they said to me, well, we're looking at, it was 50 grand, I think they paid me, plus $2,000 a point above 7%, because 4BK was on 7% when I signed with them. So they were AM changing to FM and going up against FM 104, Triple M. And I remember being called into the office and the guy going, of course, we'll do incentives. And I kind of went, incentives? And he said, yeah, $2,000 a point over 7%. And I said, well, I don't know about incentives. And the guy goes, oh, look, you're definitely going to go up 2 points. I said, well, why don't you pay me $4,000 and make it 9 that we go above? And no, they didn't want to do that. But the first incentive payment, like when 4BK changed to B105, the first rating went from 7% to 29%.
Wow.
I know. Amazing, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was sitting there going, "Oh, I love these incentives."
Oh yeah. Oh look, one of my favourite stories from you is about the signing bonus, because you'd heard the football players were getting a signing bonus.
Well, yeah, I'd read a story about Wally Lewis, and I think he was going to Seagulls and on the Gold Coast, and they paid him a sign-on fee. And I remembered that when I was talking to the guy from Triple M, and I said, of course, I'll need a sign-on fee. And he went, yes. Kind of, accidental hero type stuff a little bit.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my mates the other day, and he was talking about doing a deal for something, and I thought exactly of that story. And I said, I think we're going to have to start doing that as a thing now. We're going to have to talk about the sign-on fee. Like, where's the sign-on fee if you want us to do something for you?
Well, it was amazing, I was lucky in that at Triple M, like our breakfast show at B105 just took hold. And that's because it was relaxed and it was a good mixture of people, I guess. And we were just doing ideas. I guess like you guys, if you have an idea and you put it on. Like I had an idea to rid Brisbane of cane toads. And the promo guy was so dead set against it. We'd have a meeting, and then he'd go, "Now, what's this frog idea you've got?" With a big black hat and talking down to me. But I ended up on breakfast radio with so much power because the ratings were massive. I just went on air on Monday and I said, next Tuesday is going to be Toad Tuesday. We're going to rid Brisbane of toads. And I came off air and the promo guy came and said, why did you do that? And I said, oh, well, we're doing it now. So, and we had toad-side assist stations.
Oh, that's funny.
$10,000 for the biggest toad in Brisbane, which was actually found at Virginia Golf Club late one night.
And was it pretty big?
Oh, it was massive. Yeah. And, what was the other thing we did? We did Suburban Survivor. When Survivor was, a big hit TV show, we put, 10 people in a glass case in Queen Street Mall, and they had to sleep, there and eat witchetty grubs and all this sort of stuff, similar to the TV show. But then, every now and again, someone would put their hand up and say, I can't do this anymore, and it whittled it down. And it was – I remember the promo guy was not that same one, a different one. Of course, there's so many people around you that'll tell you can't do something. He was dead set against doing it. And then it went so well that it won a national award, either a RA award or one of those radio awards. Yeah. And I remember, and this is so radio, guess who got up to collect the award? The guy that was absolutely against it.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people if you can't take no and you don't handle it real well, then you'll never get anywhere because, they go, oh, we need two guys that know the Bundaberg area backwards. They can do a podcast and whatever, which is why we're taking those two guys from Sydney. And then you go, what? And if you can't handle that, well, then you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, that's exactly it, mate. Well, look, while we're talking about great promotions, we have to mention International Nude Day. Can you tell us a bit more about that one?
In the nude it's go. It's a bit breezy for that, isn't it, boys?
That was one of my better ideas. I don't know why I came up with it, but and why it hasn't been, well, at the time, why it hadn't been done before. I just remember being in the meeting going, what about International Nude Day? We broadcast in the nude. And, we had a program manager, Brad March, who was, just fantastic. And in that if you had an idea, he would run with it straight away. And he did. He put 3 or 4 days of full pages of Ian Skipper and I in the nude. We had nude photographs taken almost immediately. And the idea was that we broadcast in the nude. Well, the publicity that came from it was, I was saying the other day we got mentions in Cashbox and Billboard magazines in the States out of Brisbane, And it was a classic. The guest we chose was Dick Johnson, which I thought was funny.
A guy with 2 names that both mean penis. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And, we did it, and Ian was kind of a little bit embarrassed. He came in with a codpiece on in the day, and we'd blocked out all the windows in the studio, so it was only me and him. But I will tell you the story. I know I've told it before, but anyway, I said, Ian, there's only you and me in here, and we need to be broadcasting in the nude if we're going to do it right. So get the codpiece off. And he said, it's just, I'm embarrassed, Jamie. I've got a rather large ball bag. And I said, for God's sake, look at mine. It's got a bend and it's horrible, And it's only me and you, so take it off. So he took it off, and I went, oh, my God, look at the size of your ball bag, and pointed at it. But, no, it was very, very successful. And they're the sort of crazy ideas that kind of work. We had a cash prize for anyone that would drive to the studio naked. And we had a couple, a guy and a girl drove from Virginia into Bowen Hills to B105 naked. Jeez. And, I know, and that got us a full page in People magazine. And
imagine doing that today. They'd have to catch an Uber in naked, wouldn't they?
I think they'd bring the lawyers in and, they'd say, you can't do this.
No.
Whereas B105 was such fertile ground for any idea, and some work, some don't, It's all good.
Why do you think it did work at the time, Jamie? Why did all this stuff just come together and just work so well, and knowing it wouldn't work today?
Well, let me go to Kyle Sandlands, okay? And I think he's living proof. The stuff we did work. In his book, he's got a little paragraph talking about me. My ego loves that.
I love Jamie Dunn. He's the reason I got into radio.
I know.
Now, a lot of people will remember him. He was in radio in Sydney on Today FM, back with Wendy Harmer.
But what he said, the context of what he said was, when he was listening to B105, I didn't sound like a radio person. I just sounded like someone he knew, like a friend.
It's going to be the top 5 things not to take to the People's Day at Eka. All right? Number 5, don't take the kids and the wallet.
That's the truth.
Number 4, don't take Bernard King because all he wants to do is ride the whizzer.
And that's because what you're hearing now is what used to go on air. I don't have a radio voice. You know how they round their voice and smile when they talk.
Yes.
So I was just me.
Yep.
And that's what appealed to, and I think that's what appealed to the rest of Brisbane. Plus, when we did the Christmas appeal, which ran for about 11 years and was just incredibly successful to raise money for the Children's Hospital. I had some input in that, and the first time they came to us looking for money, we were nervous we wouldn't make $5,000. But it went better than that, and the reason it went better than that was because when we sat around, I said, well, I don't want people giving money and just building a big bank of money, and then someone buys a promo car for the promo person.
Yeah.
I want a list from the Children's Hospital of the equipment they need, and then we'll go through that list and get what they need, and when people stop giving, that's the end of the list.
Yeah.
And that was the secret to it, because it was every day. It was, they knew if you gave $50 on Tuesday, you were raising money for a burns unit that was going to cost like $200,000. And we got it, and we got it from, I remember the salespeople going out to the Logan motorway when it was a tollway, and they all went out and manned the toll booths. And it was the best thing that ever happened to them because they saw the listener, the plumber in the crappy ute that could hardly run, pulling them up and giving $100 cash for the Children's Hospital. And it just connected. And the reason it connected was because there was no bullshit involved in it. It was just, the money you gave definitely went to the Children's Hospital. And, my little boy Jackson, before Christmas, had issues with his breathing, and he got this thing called RSI, which is not the wrist thing, but it's a respiratory thing. And he went into intensive care and onto a ventilator. And I'm sitting in intensive care and watching my son on this ventilator. And on the ventilator is a sticker that said, bought by the people of Brisbane through the B105 Christmas appeal. And I was just like floored, absolutely floored. But that was no one got a promo car, but the hospital got what it needed. And we would raise money for, like, a burns blanket would be, $80. And we bought dozens of those. And when we'd finished buying the dozen, then we moved on to the, $300,000 laser surgery unit for brain surgery. And, it was just amazing.
Yeah, one of our good mates, Scooter, used to work in promotions with you guys. And he talks often about how awesome that promotion was. He said he'd never been involved in anything in radio since that has been as powerful as that. And
and that's because, you make that connection. But, after you've been on air for quite a time and people know you, and then you go on and you say, this is what we're doing. We're doing this. We've got a list. And when you stop giving, that's when the list stops. And it can be as small as toys for the children's ward, or, like I said, something that can pinpoint a brain tumour via a laser, where I remember they used to have to educated guess as to where the tumour was to go through the skull. And with the equipment we bought, no guessing. They could go through exactly at the spot. And, that sounds kind of like a bit of bullshit, but it's not. I remember walking into the room and thinking, and you can imagine for normal people like you and me to talk to someone who needs something worth $300,000 to make a kid's prognosis much better. All of a sudden, you're just the bloke that went to Salisbury High School and Rockley State School, and doesn't have a lot of talent. And all of a sudden, you're kind of a cog in a machine that's going to make a difference. And wow, once you get that, it's pretty good.
Oh, mate, there'd be no feeling better than that. I've been involved in a lot of different appeals with radio. We did Gimme 5 for Kids and that for many, many years, but nothing to the extent that you guys did there at B105. I mean, did any other state ever even compete?
I think they did try in different states, but, it's a mixture. The ingredients you need for a successful breakfast show is local, honest. If if you're going to cry on radio, you know, and you are actually crying, the honesty of what the emotion is, not, you know, not the fake stuff where you get a big voice in to go, you know, the children need your help. You actually speak to the mother and hear, you know, I remember speaking to a bloke who took his boy to the shop on a bicycle, his new bike, and this was out Gatton Way, I think, and he was at the shop and he came out onto the veranda of the shop and he saw his kid riding across the railway line that was parallel to the road, and the train was coming, and he watched his kid get hit by a train on his new bike. Wow. And once that guy told that story on air without any bullshit, just with turn the mic on and tell me what happened, the boy survived, but oh, my God, what he needed to get through life was amazing. But that father relayed that through the airwaves into people's hearts, and, wow, it made such a difference. And not, you know, I always think that radio and television can be a little superficial in that, you know, okay, radio want the full page, they want the news story, they want, you know, B105 has done a wonderful thing. They want to take credit for all of that. But I always think that the end result, no matter what, the end result was we got the money for the kids. We got the money for the equipment. We said what equipment we were raising money for, and people knew that we bought it because from my own experience, you know, in intensive care with my kid, I'm sitting there reading it and I'm thinking, my God, we created this. It's amazing.
More with Jamie Dunn coming soon on the biggest show in town with Woz and Mac.